community. Today is a sad day for me because last night, you're looking at right now, my C4 Corvette Targa top. Last night, here's the street where the incident took place, but last night I forgot to tighten the bolts on my Targa top. So what ends up happening? It flies off. I'm literally 2 blocks from my house right now. Before I could get to it, somebody ran over it. And as you can see here, that is some damage. And then you got this right here. So this whole piece is bent. So what does that mean for me? We're looking at a new Targa top. I don't even know if I'm gonna bother trying to get this replaced. I did just try to see how it would sit on my C4, and it ended up scratching the paint there. So, not a good start to the day, but it is what it is. I don't think it's gonna rain today, so I probably will still drive the car anyway, because hey, I actually enjoy driving it with the roof off. I drove it with the roof off all weekend. So, we're gonna run back to the house, drop this off, and we'll pick this video back up. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Whatever time you're watching the channel, seatbelt on for safety, of course. It is I, the family car guy. Today we're gonna talk about 10 things that I hate, not really hate, but strongly dislike, as many others have said, about the C4 Corvette. And some of these apply maybe specifically just to my C4 Corvette. So, just a few minutes ago, if you hadn't watched this video from the beginning, which I hope you have, I'm driving with the Targa top off right now because last night I forgot to tighten the bolts. The other day it was my anniversary. Wife and I took a cruise along the St. Croix River, along the Minnesota-Wisconsin border with the Targa top off, put the car in the garage, threw the Targa top back on, didn't bolt it in, said I'll do it in the morning. Of course I forgot to do that. And I'm going down my street doing about 35 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour tops. Top flies off. I pull over right away. And I run to go get the top. The car runs over it before I try to flag the car down. He runs over it. The top will not sit on the car flush anymore. So we're looking at either a Targa top repair or a brand new Targa top. It's not gonna rain today, so I think we're gonna be okay. So here we are with me making a video with all this wind noise. So I apologize in advance. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. We're gonna find out at the end of this video. So, 10 things I hate about the C4 Corvette. Let's jump right into it. Number 1, this car, and a lot of C4s especially, they tend to run pretty hot. When you're sitting in traffic, it's not unusual for the car to be 220, 230, and in my case, 240 if you're sitting in really bad rush hour traffic, which really sucks, very unnerving, but it is what it is. My car, I think, has an issue. I think my car actually needs a new radiator, or at the very least, a coolant flush. So that's part of the issue right there. So, yeah, so that's number 1. Another thing that I do not like about the C4 Corvette is there is no glove box where you would think a typical glove box would be. Instead, it's a airbag, which is great. I mean, I think it was from 1992 on. They changed the design. There used to be, there was a really ugly looking combination glove box slash air vent, dash vents area on the passenger side of the car. Well, there's no, they changed that, put an airbag there. That's great, we're safe, but now we don't have any storage where you would typically find storage. And I feel like there's enough room on this car to where they could have rectified that, but apparently they didn't feel like doing that. So annoying, but it is what it is. Let's see. What are we at? Number 3? Number 3, not a fan, and I'll probably have to take a video or take a picture or do something to show you guys, but the headlights really don't throw a lot of light. I love the flip-up headlights, but they just don't throw very much light in factory form. You gotta go get HIDs or projectors or something to really throw a lot of light. I mean, compared to modern cars, this car really does not throw, the headlights do not throw a lot of light, whether you have the low beams or the high beams on in factory form. That's just what it is. So you got to deal with it. So hint, hint. You can imagine what some of my future videos are going to be about. Let's see. Another thing I don't like about the C4 Corvette. Finding aftermarket wiper blades. I've replaced the wipers 3 times in this car. Not because the wipers necessarily were broken per se, but because, as I mentioned in the introduction to my C4 video, on my way back from Wisconsin picking up this car, I went to turn on the windrow wipers and they didn't come on. I heard the motors running, but they didn't actually come on. I ended up pulling off the highway, I popped the hood, and sure enough, they came on. So the wipers are getting caught underneath the hood. So I have been on Corvette forums, I have been all over the internet trying to find an area, one consistent source of truth on where do you find the proper windshield wipers for this car. And it's just a lot harder than it needs to be. I ended up ordering some off Eckler's Corvette website. Big shout out to, I forgot this, the commenter who commented on my video talking about that, but he pointed me to Eckler's Corvette, and sure enough, I've got him on order now. I found him, so hopefully they'll work out for me. I'll make a video showing the before and after, and we can get that rectified. Let's see. I got a list here because I'm not as prepared today as I normally am. Let's see. What do we got here? The manual transmission. Now, I love the fact that this car is a manual. I love it. I mean, that is probably reason number 1 that I bought this car in the form that it's in. It's a manual transmission. The 6-speed manual is fantastic. But this car, I don't know if you guys can tell, but this car, the throws are really, really long in this car. I mean, they just really, I mean, they're not, you know, this car is just begging for a short shifter. I mean, it's like driving a semi-truck or a pickup truck with a manual transmission. Have you ever seen those with the really tall shifters and the really long throws? I mean, from a drag race perspective, you know, when I take this car to the track, I mean, I'll probably be wishing I had some kind of a short shifter setup. So, shout out, you know, to anybody who can help me out in the comment section. Where can I find a short shifter? What are some options to shorten up the throws on this car? Because, man, are they long. And also, in addition to that, when you're putting this car in reverse, which I'm on the highway, so I'm not going to do it, but when you put this car in reverse, you have to put the shift lever so far over that if you have something in these cup holders, you're going to knock it over. Or you're going to, at the very least, move it to the side. So if it's full, it's going to spill on your passenger. So, which leads me to my next one. The cup holders. They are pretty useless. I have here a 20-ounce bottle of squirt. It will not sit. I mean, it sits, but it's not going to actually fit properly in the cup holder, which is really annoying. It is what it is. But these cup holders are pretty useless. There's a lot of aftermarket options out there. There's some that sit right here on the side that will hold much larger drinks. But if you don't order a small drink from, you know, the drive-thru, or if you don't get a 12-ounce can of pop, if you have anything larger than that, you are out of luck for using these cup holders. They're pretty much non-usable. They're storing my garage door opener right now, that's it. Let's see, what do we got here? I don't even know where we're at, 6, 7. The OptiSpark. The OptiSpark, I have not had issues, you know, knock on the plastic that is this dash, with the OptiSpark, and I've driven this car in the rain a bunch of times, but the design of the OptiSpark just makes no sense. I mean, why would you put the water pump underneath a part that is electrical. I mean, it just makes no sense to me. And so I've heard many stories and been all over the forums talking about this issue and what are some aftermarket, options to resolve the OptiSpark and things like that. Me personally, I'm not gonna fix it until until it actually breaks, which hopefully it won't for a long time. So I'm not too worried about it, but definitely the design, Dave definitely gave me cause to pause when I was thinking about it. I have the LT4 motor, but both the LT1 and the LT4 motor have this issue, so it is what it is. You gotta at least know about it, before you buy this car. So that's one thing I would say to anybody looking at a C4. If you get an LT1 or an LT4, just be aware that that may or may not be an issue for you. Let's see. I got my handy dandy list here. The steering wheel. So the steering wheel in this car is not horrible, but it's just a little too soft. Like, I've driven other Corvettes. I don't really like any of even the early C4s that were made in the 80s with the round horn in the middle and the two spokes. I'm not a fan of those steering. For a car like this, I'd like to see something that's a little bit more aggressive, something a little smaller. This wheel to me is a little big. Just not a fan of the wheel. It's a nice wheel. I mean, it's nice leather. I mean, this wheel happens to be in really good shape. No tears in the leather. The stitching is still in pretty good shape. There's maybe it's coming a little frayed right at the bottom, but other than that, it's basically almost in perfect shape. So I give a lot of credit to the previous owner. He rolled the car, but he kept the steering wheel in shape. So there you go, right? So yeah, I'm just not a fan of steering wheel. It's not horrible, but it's just a little soft too. I like something a little bit more firm, so that when I'm taking corners aggressively and when I'm at the track and things like that, I feel like I'm not gonna break the steering wheel when I'm driving the car aggressively. I gotta show this to you guys, and I'll probably make a addendum to this video, but ultimately the weather stripping on this car, not very good. I mean, a lot of these cars, when I'm driving in the rain, it didn't happen to me until literally just this past weekend, but when I had the Targa top on, before it was broken, water would leak very, very slowly onto the driver's side, on this driver's side door panel here, real slowly, like a few drips here, and then I read that obviously that was a common problem. Also, the weather stripping all around the back of the car, the rear hatch, it's in horrible shape on this car. The driver's side, underneath the door panel, when you open the door, you can see the weather stripping is in pretty rough shape there too. So I'm going to be spending, a not insignificant amount of money on replacing the weather stripping in this car, which is a bummer, but it is what it is. That's something that I've read is common about the C4. So that, for the most part, I think wraps up my list of 10 things that I don't like about the C4. Let's see. Also, I wanted to say one thing very, very quickly before we wrap up this video. So, I have a question for the YouTube community. Maybe it's a question for myself. But big shout out to people like Mark C4 Corvette, 13 Scorpio. By the way, I hope you don't feel like I'm biting off your video by making a video very similar to yours in a short period of time. But who is going to carry the C4 torch? We got people like Jimbo's channel, who unfortunately he's selling his C4. You got Street Speed 717 who's getting rid of his C4, not selling it, but getting rid of it. And I'm not saying the reasons for getting rid of them are bad, but I think we're coming into a time where people like myself, this is the Corvette that makes the most sense to us right now. It's ironically cool. We like it for all its quirks just as much as we kind of dislike it for its quirks. This is the car right now that people love to hate, but at the same time people are intrigued by it. And so for me, when I think about I think about the history of this particular Corvette, it's got the LT4 motor, which is the same motor that came in the 1996 Grand Sport. I mean, things like that. They really intrigue me. It's got the 6-speed. So who is going to carry the C4 torch? You know, who's going to make videos? Who's going to provide content for the community representing this car at a time when I think this car is really making a comeback in terms of its popularity or in terms of interest in it. And these cars are getting cheaper because now you've got you know, the C8, you know, the mid-engine Corvette, rumors about that. You got the 2018 ZR1, we got rumors about that. So we've got new Corvettes on the horizon. I mean, you got even the prices of C7s are coming down. I mean, if you got an early C7, you'd be in the low 40s. I've seen I've seen a lot of C7s that are 2014, 2015 in the low to mid 40s already, which means that's pushing C6 prices down, that's pushing C5 prices down, and C4 prices are being pushed down. Now, in some cases, C4s that are in really, really good shape are still holding their value. I mean, I've seen C4s that are going for 15 grand, 16 grand, you know, that are not Grand Sports, that are not ZR1s, you know. So, you know, there's interest in these cars. And so, who is going to carry that torch? Apparently, you know, I guess maybe it'll be me. It's not going to just be me, but hopefully it'll be people like myself, 13 Scorpio, other people, hopefully that we can find in the YouTube community that is going to kind of just spread the gospel, so to speak, on these cars. That, hey, if you want to get into a Corvette, you want to get into, you know, kind of having a cool sports car for not a lot of money, why not start with this, you know? So those are just my thoughts, guys. Please comment on the video. If you're new, please subscribe. Please like. Please give me the feedback. Because I want to hear from you guys. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Is it even worth having a community for the C4? I think absolutely. You know, no matter if you're starting right at an 84 Corvette, or if you're all the way at the other end with a 96 like myself. So that's it. This is me, this is David, the Family Car Guy. I'm signing out. You guys all have a blessed day. Peace out.